This conference will now be recorded.
Welcome, everyone. This is a new agent forum. What we've done here is we have three relatively new agents who have gotten off to really fast starts with a real estate career. They're going to share some of their secrets and let y'all know how they've managed to be so successful. Obviously, there's not one formula. It doesn't work necessarily for everyone, but hopefully you'll get some good ideas from hearing from these three individuals. Our first agent to speak is Laura Morgan. Laura has been with Fathom for slightly under a year. This is her start to her real estate career. Last time I checked, Laura had about 20 closings so far, but that number might have gone up a little bit since I looked last. So we'll let Laura talk with y'all, and hopefully you can get some good information.
Great, thank you. Hi, everyone. And first, I just want to preface this by saying that my husband and I have foster kittens along with teenagers and dogs and cats. So if a foster kitten comes into the camera, I apologize for the unprofessional way I will throw the kitten on the floor. So, and I'm looking at my background here and thinking that I need to polish up my office as well. So as Craig said, I got my license about a year ago. I got it during COVID. It was a complete change for me because I had a good business doing special events. I had been the director of events at UNC for about 14 years. And that's also part of my story because I had so many contacts in the community. So when I left UNC, I leveraged those for my events business. But then when COVID hit, my whole book of business for the year just crashed in like 2.5 days, just went right out the window. And I kept thinking, no, it's really going to blow over. Like, you guys, we can reschedule this for April. And I was so wrong. And so I needed like a plan B, as they say. And I had always wanted to get into real estate because my husband's an appraiser and he's an agent. So I thought, what could be better than working with your wife, Reg? And so I took the course. Once I got my license, I went down to Fayetteville. I took it during COVID. I was really excited. So I started how I organized it was like I introduced myself to my community that I already knew. So I did letters with my business card and picture to my neighborhood because I've always been someone that like walks around the neighborhood. I know a lot of people in our in the nearby neighborhoods. That's like school moms and that sort of thing. So I sent out about 200 of these letters announcing that I was now a realtor. And I did the same thing with my list from my event business, which had probably 400 or 500 people on it. So some of those people are not great because they were, in Boston or Cambridge. But the way people are coming in, I keep them on the list until they cry uncle, because people are going to be moving here. So I consider that part when I was announcing myself. I have personal social media accounts that I use, and they're really business accounts. I keep anything that's like, really crazy off of them, so that I can use them, especially my Instagram account. I changed my Instagram account from like the event strategist to Laura the Realtor, and just did a pivot. I had already been on a podcast about the pivot I did from my work at UNC for my event planning to virtual event planning. So I had a lot of contacts, I guess is what I'm saying. And I had always been someone that was really reluctant to sell myself like that. And now I have no problem. I've also learned that I have to ask for business. Like when I meet someone and they talk about how they're going to be, they're listing their house. They're, oh, we love this house, but we're going to have to list our house. And I was like, well, I can do that for you. And Laura a year ago would have been really reluctant to do that. So now this Laura has like no boundaries. So that's another thing that I've learned over the past year is to ask for the business. So I did these letters, I did the social media. I started to go out and see the inventory. And because I wanted to be able to talk to people about the houses that I knew would be popular. I'm in Chapel Hill. And so I know like some of the neighborhoods that are really popular here. And so when listings would come on, I would go see it so I could talk about it. And I would also talk about that on social media, just talk about like going out for showings, like it's a beautiful day and a picture of a tree. And so people know that I have like an active business. And I very much followed along with the act your way into success, because on social media I was active. I was doing things even when I was sort of at home, you know, looking out the window. So I tried to really, I really familiarized myself with the inventory that I knew that people would want to talk about. And I also kept an eye on what things were closing at and what was going on, and you know, and stats. So I also merged. My husband had a really healthy newsletter list. I merged that with my newsletter list, and I added people as I started to get them. And I I think we've got like 900 or so names, and there's my husband. Um, and the other thing that I did is I invested in Zillow, and I put money into Zillow like right away to get leads. And I was reluctant at first, you know, like to spend money when you're not making any money, but it worked for me. And my conversion rate has been really good, and my Zillow rating is really good. So when you get a good Zillow rating, they give you more ads, and I think it's just been that's been a big part of my success. And the other thing that I've already gotten referrals from some of those people. So I also did let's see what else I have. Let's see. So the other thing that I have been doing recently is cultivating these like 25 clients that I have from this year, the closings. So I've been going around and touching base with them. And this is an idea. These are all ideas I got from like RDU masterminds, who are truly like the most brilliant people on the face of the earth. And so I've just been doing like the pop by with moms, or the check-in, because I think I've got like you know, 3 referrals from this, and that, so that eventually I'm hoping my business will be that referral as it's growing. I've already cut down the Zillow by quite a bit and just narrowed it. So but I would suggest like putting some money into some sort of advertising or promotion for yourself. So, and that's pretty much. I saw a question like on the newsletter is email, and then it's constant contact. So it's really easy. And what I do is I send out, you know, those stats that they have for on TMLS. I've made it so people can click on, you know, Chapel Hill, Carborough, Chatham County, and Durham. Those are the places that I'm sort of like, you know, have narrowed down. And they can get those stats, and people really like that. And on Constant Contact, you can see how it, you know, what the return is and who's clicking and that sort of thing. And especially when I see people clicking on the stats, I give them an extra like follow up, maybe just to say like, you know, or just a text, just like a, hey, how you doing? I am completely like a glad hander now. To everyone I meet. Like if you see me in the grocery store, you are not safe. And so, as far as like how often I send out the newsletter, I send it out. I aim for quarterly, but now I was actually just thinking today I should maybe up that because I added a Houseopedia article to the last one, like your fall like house checklist, and it got a great number of clicks. So I'm thinking that I'm going to try to do it maybe monthly. and include that because it was like really great content for people. So I'm going to try to do it more often. And and I think that's it. Are there any like questions or anything I should dive deeper into? Um,
Well, Laura, what are some systems, or if you have any, or is this just, you probably don't just juggle things in your brain. What are some of these systems, if
well,
any?
it's I am in need of systems actually, but one thing that I do is I've got I make cards and I put everyone in file filter, but I've started like, so I just finished up a really busy stretch. And now I have new clients that have been, working in the pipeline. First of all, I always try and have something in the pipeline, keep that pipeline full. But what I do is I make like a cheat sheet of of people that I am working with right now or that I want to work with and what they're looking at, so that when I go through the inventory, I know that this guy is looking for 250 in town, pretty easily, because or else it can get a little bit, muddled up. I actually I saw a question about a CRM. I have not used KV Core. I need to, I'm having shoulder surgery in November, and that's my goal, is to get myself a little bit more organized, because it's hard if you don't have systems and you can't really grow. So I know that that's like sort of the next step for me, is to use more of what Fathom gives me, like KV Core or another CRM, and just get to learn that a little bit better. What? Oh, and the other thing that I didn't realize was really so important was that I have a really good team of people. I got these people from Reg, but like I have a great mortgage broker, I have a great lawyer, and so people, I got a referral yesterday, and they said, I heard you put together a really good team for, you know, Lizzie, and so I think that's an important thing too. And so, but I need systems.
Great. What else? Who else has got some questions for Laura? If you think of something later, that's fine. We'll have some time at the end to just ask for any of the three. But if anyone else has a question about what they just heard, now's a good time. But if not, Lily or Shreyans, either one of y'all have a preference going next, or I'll just flip a coin. Shreyans, you want to go next?
I can go next. Can you hear
Okay.
me?
All right. Well, thank you very much. You started, I believe, in April, maybe, of this year. And
Yep.
what are you up to as far as count of number of closings? And I know you have some pending as well right now.
So I think I've done 10 closings, but I'm under contract for in total 21
Oh, wow.
from April. So it has been 7 months. So it has been a pretty productive first year for me, right?
Okay, great.
So,
Go ahead.
sorry, go ahead. Okay. So just as a background, right, means I moved in states like 5 years back. I bought my first home in North Carolina in 2016. Then I thought of investing more, so I bought two more rental properties through Sanjeev Agarwal, who is with Fathom. And when I bought the second property through him last year, he gave me an idea to, why don't you be a real estate agent? Because you have been able to identify your own properties, kind of, and you will do good there. So that was the first idea that was floated to me by Sanjeev Agarwal last October. And then my wife gave me a little bit of kick that, okay, you should try it out. There's a COVID, you're working from home. So I'm a full-time banker. I have a 9 to 5 job. I have two kids as well, 3 and 9. So, and my wife is working as well. She's a banker as well with First Citizen Bank. So we have our hands full. But she was able to give me a kick. Oh, you should try it. It's we are all working from home right now. The classes, the coaching classes that we have for pre-licensing are, as you know, work are from virtual as well. So I thought, okay, let's give a shot at it. So I started my classes in January, finished them in March, right? And then gave my exams and I got through. So what has been really working well for me is I have been part of one group, like-minded people, since I became the owner, landlord, right? Two properties I had. There are a group of like 200 people there who discuss about the rental properties, how to invest, where to invest, and all that kind of stuff. I have been part of that group from over a year now, even when I didn't thought I'll be a realtor. And I have been sharing my experiences or asking questions on that group. It's a it's a WhatsApp group. I don't know how many people here use WhatsApp, but it's a fairly heavily used app owned by Facebook uh, in our community, in Indian community. It's very convenient to chat and to share your ideas, messages, links, all that kind of stuff. I've been sharing my thoughts on it. I think I'm the most active person in that group of 200. I've been sharing my thoughts about being an owner. If somebody needs any help, I used to go and help them, provide my ideas. They like it or they don't like it. That's a separate thing. But I was visible there, I think. Uh, so when I got my licensing done, that was the first time I changed my WhatsApp name that is visible to everybody as Shreyans Fathom Realty. So instead of me portraying to everybody that I am a realtor, please come and you work with me, I just changed my name, and that's about it. I didn't told anybody that I am a realtor now, right? And that time I was introduced to Diana. She's on the call right now uh, as a mentor program that we have, and she gave me a kick in the butt uh, to go out there and just follow the passion that you have, right? She has been wonderful. 3 months I was under training with her, and she has been just great. She still I still call her, and she still picks up my phone, even though she can say no. But I still feel that I'm still under her mentorship because I have too many questions, and she answers me all of them, including Matt and including Sanjeev as well. So there are three people that I look up to every time if I have any questions, and one of them will always be there to help me out. So thank you, all three of you. Um, so So I have not spent even a single penny on any of the advertisements uh, till date in last 7 months. Um, all I've been doing is there are four or five things that have been working for me. One, I'm always approachable. If somebody gives me a call, no matter what time it is, I will always pick up the phone or I give them a call back within a reasonable time, right? I I will vent out a little bit, but in last 7 months, I've learned in real estate, people don't pick up the phone, right? They will call you back only if it is convenient to them, which I hate. So I'm always approachable. I try to be very easygoing. Means if I I just try to be easygoing with all my clients, all the attorneys that I work with, the lenders that I work with, um, the inspection guy whom I work with, who has been provided by Diana, the contact. I speak my mind. If I don't like a property, I just say I don't like it, right? Um, I'm not, because I have a full-time job, this is not my bread earner, work that I'm doing here, right? So I'm not into because it's a 500K property, I'll make commission of it. Uh, bec- Even though I personally don't like it, I will still try to sell it to my clients. I never do that. I will rather buy a 400K property or 300K property if they like and I like it as well, right? Because what I'm trying to do is not just earn their business, but their referrals as well, because they will be happy if I keep them below their budget. And that has really worked for me. I cannot and I don't oversell, right? If I don't like it, I just don't like it. I spend a lot of time behind the computer. Um, I spend maybe 70% of time behind the computer than on the roads. I cannot do the roads because I have a full-time job, as I said. So I do a lot of investigation of the properties online. If people like it or my clients like it, then only we go and see it. We do not go on the road with the clients on each and every property. I don't do that. So it also helps to build a trust because then they know that okay, what they are seeing are only quote unquote filtered out properties. Um, and as Laura was suggesting, I have a great team of people whom I work with, the attorneys. I had a very difficult closing like 2-3 months back. Diana and Matt knows about it. The seller never moved out of the house, and it was a primary property. And on the last day or a day before, they told us, okay, the movers are not coming, and we cannot move out. And we had paid a huge amount of due diligence on it. It was the house was in Holy Springs. Um, we paid we paid a good amount of money there, and my buyer was very tensed because it was a primary property. They were staying in a hotel with the kids, and they wanted to move in on that week, but they couldn't. So they were very. Uh, so the point is that the attorney that we were working with, they were able to spend the entire day with us just for that uh, one closing. We were supposed to close at 10 a.m. in the morning, but we closed at 6 p.m. in the evening. We were in the attorney's office for like 8 hours on that day. So great people, great team that we work with. The last thing I think that probably works for me is that being from the finance background, I know my numbers rather okay, right? So even before we go and see the property, whether it's an investment property or it's a primary, we are able to work with the clients, or I'm able to work with the clients on how the numbers will work out, how much will be their, you know, um monthly expense, and if it is an investment property, how much will be the rental, whether that makes sense, whether it's an investment proposition or not. Um, you know, if they are renting a house and they want to move in a primary, how much rent they are paying right now, what will be the expense, is it worth moving from a rental apartment to let's say buying a 500K house, whether it doesn't make sense or not. So those are the kind of things I think probably is working out for me right now. I'm not using as of today. Diana has showed me few times, but I have not been able to get through it. KV Core. I'm not using Zillow. I'm not doing any advertisements. It just through referrals, one after the other, I'm getting.
Thanks, Ren. So a couple of questions came through the chat. First question was, what is the name of the WhatsApp group that you're a member of?
Unfortunately, the WhatsApp group is full. We have opened a Telegram group as well because WhatsApp has only 250, I think, odd people who can join in. We have opened a Telegram group. I will share. Let me see. I would have to send the link. So if anybody is interested, uh, just message me on the Facebook and I will get you added to the group.
Okay, or if you don't mind, once Lily starts, if you want to put it in the chat, that would be great. When it's Lily, I mean, but for now, there's some more questions for you. So there's a question asking, are most of your clients investors?
So out of 21, 9 have been investment properties and 11 have been primary. So I am 50-50.
I think that's a good mix. So I have a question. So you're a full-time banker, you've got 2 kids, all this business. When do you sleep?
I am able to take 7 hours of sleep.
Good.
uh, Sometimes I'm with the clients till literally till midnight. Sometimes to catch up with them. Some clients just get free, in the evening after their work. Um, I've been My wife is not happy, to be honest, but I have to make a cut somewhere that after this time I'm not available to anybody. But generally, my at work as well means if there's some work that has been given to me, I'll just do it full-heartedly. That has been carried over here as well. But I have to draw a line somewhere at some point of time because I know this cannot continue just from my family perspective,
Mhm.
right? So uh, I'm able to get 7 hours sleep
Well, that's
so far.
good. Yeah, I mean, I've seen plenty of instances where brand new agents come in and they keep their full-time job and they have a really hard time figuring out how to do real estate when they have a job as well. So, I mean, I'm happy to hear that you figured that out. Um, so you mentioned you don't use KV Core. Are there any other types of systems you use to keep track of all these folks that you're calling, or are you just able to keep it in your head?
I'm not calling anybody. It's all the discussions that I'm having with my clients is all over only through WhatsApp.
Oh, okay.
Uh, Only through WhatsApp, right? Me and my wife in the first 2 months created a Facebook group or Facebook page of my, what I envisioned how, I'll brand my name and all that kind of stuff. But I haven't used it for 4 months because I have no bandwidth right now. I have not posted anything there. I have only literally just 3 posts to advise. I I have I'm just I'm not advertising anything right now.
Okay.
And making a note means I'm just it's all through WhatsApp right now.
Hmm. Okay, great. Any other questions for Sharon? Okay, I saw Laura just answered a question in the chat regarding Zillow, and so that's good. Okay, we'll move on and we'll ask. We still have some time for questions at the end. Um, Laura just mentioned that a word for IntelliAgent. So one thing we've heard so far before we move on to Lily is I noticed both Laura and Shayan's mentioned that they have a team of vendors they use, attorney, lender. I mean, I think that's great. If you don't have such a team set up, Fathom has, we have some companies that we own. You're welcome to try to, make contact with them. They'll be happy to partner with you. And, we have our preferred attorneys list. But you're welcome to use whoever you want. But just if you're thinking about forming that type of team, we do have a starting point for you at least. So Lily, we'll move on, and for you, and I'm going to make you the presenter so you can share your slides.
Sounds good.
Okay, you're now the presenter, so you should be able to share your screen.
Okay. Let me this work. Screen. Can everyone see my screen? Whoops.
Yes, I can see it.
Okay, great. So let's share all my tips and tricks. So I probably took, it's going to be, I just have become a full-time agent for a little over 2 years. And what's different between my story and Shreyan and Laura is probably I've always been a very intentional person, and I set out to build this business, therefore kind of with more thoughts behind it. So I do have my own brand. The idea is to eventually build a very lean, small team in the area. I'm both an investor and also a broker, and what led me to become a broker was originally investing on my own in real estate. So I got my license as I left my corporate job back in the fall of 2019. Prior to becoming a full-time realtor, I spent the majority of my career on Wall Street. I was an investment banker. Then I was in private equity for a number of years, involved in real estate and infrastructure investing and asset management. So we relocated from New York City to this area about 5 years ago. and I had kept my job with my prior company for 3 years, and ended up actually commuting about half of that year on the road, going back to our headquarters and running the business there. So I decided to leave that world bravely, and I started investing. I have both residential and commercial mixed-use investments in my portfolio. On the residential side, I have long-term rental and also an Airbnb. And through that experience, I thought it was more efficient and also diversify my cash streams to earn my own license. So 2020 was actually my first full year, and with the pandemic, it ended up being a very interesting year for me. But nonetheless, the gray bars are my 2020 and the orange bars are my 2021. So I've been able to triple the number of transactions. I'll probably end up with more than 24 at the end of the year. There's some leads on my pipeline. And same thing on the gross sales volume, about 10 million in gross transaction volume. So I've just hired, this year was kind of a growth, keeping the momentum built in 2020 and really continue the growth for my business. So I've hired an assistant, and she's going to be managing our operations and marketing. And in a few months, I think we'd be ready to take on a buyer agent. So I do have systems and some basics in place. I like to work out of a physical office, although what attracted me to Fathom very early on is the virtual capabilities. So for my own sanity and also easier to meet with clients, I have a physical office here in North Hills, and my website and CRM are integrated with my lead gen as well, and I use the Real Geeks platform for that. I set up my business off of Google Suite, so it's the business account with Google Suite that then allows me to create my own shared drive. And I also have a branded Google My Business page, and a Keeping My Current Matters Pro account, which is a really nice original content, thought leadership writing platform that you can subscribe to, and they are able to produce daily blogs for you to share with your clients. Right now, I'm taking advantage of that blog in sending out email blasts to both my clients and prospects on a weekly basis. I also use a lot of Canva to generate my own marketing materials, and that includes both printed materials and also social media things I post. I have a very active Instagram account. I upgraded my Adobe to Reader Pro so that it allows me to edit a lot of the PDFs that we end up using for various things for both client contracts and also even PDF proof of marketing materials when I build my listing guides, buyer guides, etc. And I'd say most importantly, one thing that I did right was right as I started getting into building a brokerage business, I immediately signed up for Tom Ferry. I did a lot of research in coaching programs, and Tom Ferry was one that resonated with me the most. And so I've been a core member with Tom Ferry. I'll probably move up to elite next year. And that really has sort of set the right tone in how I think about building my business and learning from the best of the best in the country. So I think one of the things that that has a large influence in how I look at the world when it comes to real estate brokerage is leveraging those mastermind groups. Real Geeks has their own, Tom Ferry has their own, obviously our own from Fathom, and a dialer that I use, Vulcan, has also a very powerful mastermind group. So my lead gen, I track, measure, and I try to be consistent. Based on my total sales this year, 40% of them came from online leads. I do Google PPCs, display ads, and local service ads. About 17% of them come from social media, primarily Instagram. I closed one deal off of Facebook, but that was somebody who proactively reached out to me by learning about me on my Facebook page. I do have a business Facebook page. 25% of my business this year is from past clients and agent referrals. It's surprising to me how quickly your clients have become referrals for you. I kind of expected that not to really occur until year 2 or 3, but started happening already. And then the other bucket of my lead gen are from the other, I call them. So it's a combination of open house, circle dialing, and also geofarming. As far as lead gen specifically, the tools that I use is definitely my CRM. It's a very integrated with my website on the back end. Therefore, I'm able to incorporate drip campaigns and also getting my weekly email blasts out. Some of that content definitely comes from Keeping Current Matters. I have outsourced managing my PPC and SEO for my website to third-party agencies that I researched and selected just based on their capabilities. And that's been running really well for me. I do self-manage my social media management for now, and that's just basically daily posts to Instagram. I don't focus as much on Facebook. I think that's just something that you figure out for yourself, which is a better fit for your personality, for your style. And I have Vulcan 7 as my dialer. So I do cold calls. I work on scripts, and cold calling especially worked well for me, circle dialing for my clients and following up with individuals that are in my geo farm that have clicked onto my barcodes and asked for a property valuation. I use HomeBot. Hopefully everyone knows about it, but it's a pretty powerful tool for you to send out to keep in front of your clients as a monthly property valuation report. It's a lot more in depth than anything else that's out there. And I think a lot of lenders have access to HomeBot, but as a realtor, you can also subscribe to HomeBot. It's very affordable. It's like $20-25 a month. I use mailers, and I've had good experience working with Corfact and Prospect Plus for various things. And then lastly, for my transaction management, I use a project management tool called Asana, and I also use Folio for mapping out transaction timelines. What's working for me?
I don't know if I interrupt you for a second. So did you just figure all this stuff out on your own, all these tools you're using, or did you have someone you consulted with that helped you, sort of learn about some of these things?
Yeah, good question. I did figure them out on my own after consulting with people who've had experience using these tools through my masterminds. I really looked at them as the big pool of resource, particularly, like I said, Real Geeks, Vulcan, Tom Ferry. There's just a wealth of information out there. And I think one of the things I learned the most is when you're in among like-minded people and who think about their business and treat their business like a business, that are willing to share also, it can take you so much further. So I really leveraged them in sourcing some of the things that I've incorporated into my business. And I'd say first and foremost, you got to know what you're about. I think that this is probably, I've worked in a couple of different industries over my career. I'd say this is probably the one most diverse in terms of different approach to building a business that I've ever encountered. And so it's so easy to get distracted, and it's so easy to get overwhelmed. It's like a kid in a candy store. You walk in, there's 10,000 options and you don't know where to start. So I think what kept me kind of grounded is to know who I am first and what I'm about and what's my vision for my business, and stick with it. Like, try to put your blinders on once you figure out that piece, and then go find the things that you need to get your business there. I think that's worked, you know, best for me. Is I started out writing a business plan of how I envisioned the business to go, and then from there sought out pieces that I needed to kind of put that puzzle together.
Great, thank you.
So yeah, so after kind of rounding out year 2, just to finish out the slides, what's working for me is I set a goal for a 90-day goal every quarter. So it's more digestible, it's very concrete. And so that's worked for me, is kind of progressing as the year goes on and being flexible enough to what's going on in the actual market to be able to dial up and down what your 90 goal looks like. I'm a big believer in time blocking, so my calendar is where everything happens. So I am very protective of my time. So if it doesn't get on my calendar, it's not important enough and it doesn't get done. When I do make my calls and follow up, I get good results. Surprise, surprise. So really, I think the improvement there is always to actually be consistent about making your calls and have a good follow-up system in place. One thing that I love that's really rewarding for me is to work with people that are like-minded. And so I love loving on my clients. And I think that's probably what helped me generate a lot of referrals, is I'm always in front of them at various means. It's not just, you know, giving them a present, but it's like sending them a birthday card and an anniversary card, sending them house anniversary gifts, and sending them newsletters and what's going on in the market. So I mix it up, but I always stay in front of them and they really appreciate it. And then what's also worked for me well is Instagram, having my voice and being consistent with my voice on Instagram. That's how led people to me. And it's the best feeling when you don't have to convince somebody to work with you, but they, you know, proactively chose you to work with. That's how kind of I've built my tribe, so to speak. And I'm very organized, and I think that that's helped me to build a actual system and a pretty robust structure in place that's scalable. And then, like I said, just, you know, I'm more intentional with what I do, and so when you put intention and the right mindset in place, then hopefully it gets you where you want to go. That's it.
Great, that sounds great. Thank you very much. So does anyone have any additional questions for Lily? Different approaches. You, I think, put more upfront, down on paper kind of planning. That's great for some folks. Other folks, just not the way they operate. But I think, we heard 3 sort of different styles here, and I think, maybe folks can find what works best for them, or a blend of all 3 things that they saw today. Any other questions, anyone? I feel like we've got, one thing too, all 3 of y'all basically got your businesses running during the pandemic. I know that's been a big challenge for some folks, and there's all kinds of different challenges that the pandemic brought to people. But it's nice to see that, it didn't sidetrack our business, and it did allow some folks to still be able to get things going. All right, well, I don't think we have anything else to cover. I appreciate everyone for attending, and, get out there. Oh, hold on, there is a question. Kathy's asking, Lily, how'd you get involved with commercial side of real estate for your own investments?
Yeah, so that's kind of from my genetics. I was in the other side of the transaction, from commercial, industrial, and office for a number of years. So I had some connections there to some sponsors that are buying interesting assets. So they'll send me materials to look at, and I figure out whether or not it makes sense for me to invest.
Okay, well, thank you. All right, well, it looks like that's all we've got today. I appreciate our three panelists. Thank you very much for sharing your story, and we really appreciate that. And everyone else, thanks for joining, and hopefully you got some good ideas from all this. Y'all have a great day.
Thank you.